Remember when Joe Biden swore up and down he wouldn't pardon Hunter?
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
You have.
Remember when KJP repeated that vow at least 6 times?
Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you'll be shocked to know it was all a big fat giant lie. Turns out that nobody is above the law thing was the real deep fake, cheap fake. So I never want to hear one of these Democrat disingenuous hacks whine about Trump not one more time. But guess what? Here we go anyway, because Donald Trump named the great Kash Patel as his pick for FBI director, and I'm sure you'll just be shocked to hear that the left and their comrades in the fake news media are having another meltdown over it. I mean, how do these people even digest their Thanksgiving tofurkey with so much constant turmoil and outrage rattling around in their soy-fed bodies? It's really something. But as you know, I am a big fan of Kash Patel. He's a friend of the show, a patriot, a legal genius, and a steadfast defender of freedom and the Constitution. He also believes the FBI best serves the American people when it goes after bad guys, criminal organizations, and terrorists, not moms at school board meetings, not old ladies outside of Planned Parenthood, and not Donald Trump because he happens to be a political rival.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. No one returns money. It's the biggest fiction in government that you can't return money. Every agency and department that I've ever worked for, when it comes to the fiscal end of the year, they're like, go on trips, go spend money. What? Just give it back to Congress. We can't do that.
He knows our rights come from God and not government. He thinks FBI agents should, I don't know, get bad guys and not do the bidding of the deep state. So given all of those characteristics, the left has, of course, designated him as a right-wing extremist.
The fact that Kash Patel is profoundly unqualified for this job is not even like a matter for debate. So I think what we should really be thinking about right now is, what does this signal in terms of Donald Trump's intent for the FBI? The installation, or the nomination, I guess we should say at this point, of Kash Patel as FBI director can only possibly be a plan to disrupt, to dismantle, to distract the FBI, and to possibly use it as a tool for the president's political agenda.
I'm convinced that every single one of these clowns went to bed early on November 5th and didn't quite get the memo. At this point, when Democrats and the liberal deranged media tell you someone is a right-wing extremist, you can probably just assume that person is actually a patriot who believes in our Constitution and putting the American people first, because to the left, that is a radical extremist notion. But beginning on January 20th, Donald Trump will be our president. And again, he won with a mandate from the American people. And the media mobsters and Democrat politicians aside, I hope liberal Americans who voted for Kamala realize we don't hate you. We don't even dislike you. We want this country to get better for all of us, and you'll enjoy it too. Just stop screaming at the sky long enough to realize lowering energy costs, deporting criminal aliens, and protecting women's sports and spaces is, a good thing. Joining me now with his take on all of the breaking news is Fox News political analyst and my friend, Gianno Caldwell. All right, Gianno, I want to start out with the hot news of the day. Of course, that's the Hunter Biden pardon. Knocked me over with a feather. They told us they wouldn't do it. And lo and behold, here we go. Why do you think Joe decided to do that at the 11th hour?
Well, thank you for having me, my friend. And your monologue was spot freaking on. Absolutely hearing Andrew McCabe say, oh, well, this is a bad pick, makes me think this is the greatest pick Trump could have made for the FBI director. These folks literally did all the things that they said Donald Trump would do. They said that he would use the FBI and the DOJ for his own political bidding. We saw Joe Biden and the Democrats do exactly that. We've seen them come up with these narratives saying, oh, if Donald Trump is in office, we're going to see wars all over. No, we've seen that with Joe Biden. They said the economy would crash under Donald Trump. No, it flourished, and we've seen it crash under Joe Biden. What the American people have learned over the course of this election, which has been a very long cycle, is the Democratic Party is full of liars, and they push narratives in which they want to do themselves. It's insanity on steroids, but thank God, due to the election of Donald Trump, this is about to end, Tommy. Congratulations, we won it.
You know what I find interesting, though, speaking of kind of the two big things of the weekend, which was the Hunter Biden pardon and also the Kash Patel freak out, they're somewhat connected in my eyes, because you have that Hunter Biden pardon that was pretty much like a free-for-all. It was like you can't go after him from anything from the last decade. Like 2014, even though those convictions were later than that, you can't even go after or investigate him for stuff that he did when Joe Biden was vice president, all that stuff with Ukraine. He's getting a free pass for all of it. And so now Donald Trump brings in an FBI that actually wants to go after corruption. And lo and behold, Joe's like, oh, you're not coming after me and Hunter. But I think more so this was even a pardon for Joe Biden himself, because I think he wanted to close the book on everything. But I think that the way the left is reacting to this is what I find most interesting, Gianno. I don't know if you've seen it, but there have been several Democrats that are kind of pissed off at Joe Biden for doing this. Do you think we're going to see some more infighting over it?
Well, we're going to see more infighting, and Eric Holder isn't one who's saying that it was a bad idea. He's actually defending Joe Biden at this particular point. We know Hunter Biden. He was the spider who created the web, but Joe Biden absolutely benefited from it. His family benefited from it. Why is it that they have bank accounts in children's names in their family? What's the point of that? Why is it that they have all these thousands of shell companies, hundreds, thousands, whatever it was, funneling in money through? I don't think this is going to be the largest part we're gonna see. Hunter Biden was absolutely a part of it, but he wasn't the only participant. Joe Biden was a participant. James Biden was a participant, and I'm sure that this goes down even further than that. So I would be very, 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 very surprised if Joe Biden leaves office and doesn't pardon himself and multiple other members of his family's organizations.
I'll tell you what I think it is, too, Gianno. I think this is a big FU to the Democrat Party on behalf of Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden's saying, you guys threw me under the bus. You threw me away for Kamala. And, I beat Donald Trump. That's his legacy. So he doesn't really care. He's like, you know what? On the way out, I'm going to let the Democrat Party just go up in flames. You guys can fight amongst yourselves. I'm going to protect myself and my family. And I don't really care how bad this looks. But I think he's also given Trump a pass, not that Trump really needed it, to move forward with some pardons of his own. And I think that immediately it should be the January 6th prisoners that have been locked up, that have been persecuted, prosecuted to the greatest extent, Gianno. Do you think that Donald Trump should issue some pardons for those January 6thers that, were honestly just at the Capitol, weren't even really proven to have done anything that horrific? Do you think that this extends to them? Do you think Donald Trump should make some moves?
I mean, this pardon shows us that Donald Trump should do exactly what he believes is the right thing to do, not based on politics, media narratives, or whatever the left thinks is the right thing to do, because they plainly and simply lied. There was people who were at the Capitol. I believe it was a grandmother who was praying at the Capitol or something like that got arrested. There's been individuals who were just outside. There's been people who posted about it that the FBI investigated. Those people who've done no criminal behavior should be pardoned, because this was literally a political prosecution. Now, that doesn't excuse anybody who had bad behavior, that committed any violence or anything like that. But certainly, Donald Trump should use the power of the pardon. He should use the power of his presidency, because the American people chose him to be our leader. Despite all the negativity we've seen, we've not seen a president or a person running for office, let alone a former president, targeted as much as we've seen Donald Trump. So yes, he should do exactly what the mandate is the American people gave him, and that's to do what he believes is the right decisions for this country.
Yeah, I think if he would have just out the gate given pardons to the January 6th folks, I think there would have been a more uproar. But to our original point there, now that Joe has pardoned Hunter, it's kind of like, yeah, you guys can't really be squawking about this now because your guy just did it. And that Supreme Court decision that they railed against actually is probably going to go and help Joe Biden given all of this. So, all interesting how this works out. Again, I think this was a giant FU delivered by Joe Biden to his own party. But I'll tell you what else I find really interesting. All the folks that have been screaming and crying about Donald Trump for the last 10 years, it seems like now they're rather cozy with him and they really love to go to Mar-a-Lago and eat dinner with him. And I'm talking specifically about Justin Trudeau, who, spent a little time over the Thanksgiving holiday. He looks pretty happy to be next to Donald Trump. But what do you think this says with all these people now kind of flocking to the president's side? They were obviously fierce critics of him for the last 10 years. Do you think that now they're starting to realize that they got to play the game a little bit?
Well, I think they fear him. They fear a second term of Donald Trump more than they fear the first one. One, people really went after him. We know that. The world leaders went after him. We know that. And when considering those things and knowing that he has such a tremendous mandate, every state in our union has shifted towards the Republican Party. In Chicago, Donald Trump won the precinct that embodies the Cook County Prison. His pre-detained inmates can vote in those elections. So this is an absolute mandate, and he has nothing to lose. This is a second term where he could actually do what's right for the American people. That includes tariffs on countries that don't want to do business with us or demean us. That means pulling back funding that we've sent to other countries, which we know in some cases, Congress can't even track all the money that's going outside of the U.S. That means that policy regarding NATO and many other organizations and institutions that America has been a part of, those things are up for review. It's not going to be a free pass like they get with most elite presidents. They recognize that, and they know they absolutely have to play ball. American is still the beacon of hope. It is still the hegemon of the world, and you're going to have to come and play right when it comes to our country because we have a leader in office or who's going to go into office on January 20th who's not going to play around with these folks anymore, and they know it. So they're scared, and they're going to do whatever they can to try to protect their countries as well because we can really uproot some of the things that are going on across the world.
Yeah, I think the world knows it. To your point, you're exactly right. And, Donald Trump, let's just be honest, he's not running again. So this is his opportunity to actually leave behind a legacy of fixing America to the best of his ability and setting it on the right track for what we hope to be another Republican president that's going to come in after him. Maybe J.D. Vance, maybe Ron DeSantis, maybe somebody else. But also, I think it's interesting the way big tech has changed their attitude towards Donald Trump. Obviously, Elon Musk, we know, a fierce advocate for Donald Trump, campaigned for Donald Trump, spending a lot of time with Donald Trump. The left is really pissed about that, by the way. But then you also have Zuckerberg that took a trip to Mar-a-Lago. Now, a lot of conservatives are a little skeptical of this. They're like, I don't know. I still don't trust Zuckerberg because Meta, as I've experienced, I'm sure you have, I'm sure our entire network has, they still stifle our speech. They still censor us. They still flag us for ridiculous things. Do you think any of that is going to change now? Do you think maybe Zuckerberg is on the Trump train and he realizes that he's got to get in line?
I wouldn't trust it at all. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg saw what was coming. Elon Musk purchase of Twitter, I think, was a game changer for this election. Him getting involved in ways that he had through his super PAC, I think that was a game changer. And Mark Zuckerberg is concerned about the section of the law that would actually regulate his business. And he doesn't want to be put in such a precarious situation, knowing that what they did in the previous election, how they impacted the outcome of the election, what Twitter did actually at that time with the Hunter Biden story, and how the government under Joe Biden even was censoring Donald Trump and many conservatives. They know that it's time to pay the piper. They recognize that. So yes, of course he's going to go there. Do I trust Mark Zuckerberg? Absolutely not. And I don't see why Donald Trump should either.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump should, give him maybe the benefit of the doubt, but there's got to be some consequences. And there's never been consequences for Facebook, really. I mean, we've seen Zuckerberg have to apologize numerous times and then nothing changes. Really frustrating for people like me who've been censored on that platform, who have to be careful of every little thing that we post because Meta will flag it. I mean, it's ridiculous the thing. They're still flagging stuff on COVID, for crying out loud. Yeah. Like, have we not gotten past this? This was what they've done to us has been absolutely ridiculous. But, That being said, I do think there's another interesting thing the Democrat Party is going to have to grapple with. And that, as you mentioned before, is all of these demographics that maybe didn't vote for Donald Trump in the majority, but they're moving in that direction. But the Democrats, they can't figure this out yet. And they just want to continue to demean people that have voted Republican or voted for Trump maybe for the first time. And here we've got Stephen A. Smith, who, you know, he's back and forth, but he's sitting with an actress, and Jennifer Lewis. And she is once again, berating black men who may have voted for Donald Trump. Let's take a look, and I want to get your thoughts.
And what do you have to say to black men and Latinos who were not in favor of supporting Kamala Harris?
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. When your favorite niece and your 13-year-old daughter is raped by your alcoholic brother or the next door neighbor, and she tries to abort that baby inside of her from a rape, you're going to regret that. They want to keep women in their place. It's so disgusting. I can't even put words to them voting for her. They didn't vote for her, didn't vote because she was a woman. They didn't care that she was smart and powerful, educated, beautiful, kind, joyful, fearless. She would have taken care of this country. She would have protected the people. She would have surrounded herself with great minds. But keeping women in their place was more important to them. And black men, that was just shocking because, honey, he's going to give the military and the police permission to shoot you in your back, and there will be no immunity. So, baby, y'all done. You took every right from your children.
Gian, I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, it was an excellent monologue. It was a great performance. But where do we even start with that? I mean, do you think that's going to do the trick? Do you think that the folks that voted for Donald Trump that maybe weren't supposed to, do you think that this is going to change their mind? Do you think it's going to give them remorse and regret?
What I just heard was the biggest BS. And you know what, Jennifer, I think she's a great actress. Obviously, that was a performance. What I just saw, none of it being true, none of it rooted in truth and honesty. The fact of the matter is, people, especially black men, were fed up of people like Jennifer making these statements. We are independent minded. We can make decisions that are going to best benefit our family. It was an economic decision for many black folks. The immigration issue was another issue. And like a friend of mine, Jasmine, who called me from Atlanta a week before the election, she didn't vote for Kamala. She didn't vote for Trump, but she said she hoped that Trump would win. I said, why? And she said, because it's time for the Democratic Party to stop playing in our faces. Those were her words. So there was many reasons that people voted for Trump. And one of the biggest reasons is they did a terrible job. She knows that. And if Kamala Harris was going to be so great, why didn't she do it now? You're vice president. If you were going to fix the economy on day one, do it now. If you're going to fix the immigration system on day one, do it now. You know, if you're going to fix inflation, do it now. These comments that they made were not rooted in fact. It was a bunch of lies pushed by Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and the media, and the American people saw through it. So now they're upset because the same game plan they've been running for years. If you vote for a Republican, before Donald Trump hit the scene, I've been a conservative for almost 2 decades. Before Donald Trump hit the scene, they would say, okay, you're an outcast. You hate yourself. You know, no one would want to befriend you. Families would say, okay, we can't deal with you because you're a Republican or you voted for a Republican. And now that's come to an end. So they don't know how they're going to play their race-based playbook for the next election because it's not working, Tommy. It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working, but I think they're going to just keep going with it. Gianno, you have a lot of friends on the other side of the aisle, a lot of, outspoken friends on the other side of the aisle who might not agree with your politics, but you stay friendly with them. You spend a lot of time with them. And for those out there that are wondering, how to do that because we're so politically divided, give my audience some suggestions. How do you manage those relationships with people who think completely differently from you and still count those people as close friends?
Well, Stephen A. Smith is one of those people. I talked to him regularly about what was going on. He said he didn't hate Trump. but he wasn't voting for him, and that's fine. I think we got to get back to a time in our country where we can have intellectual debate. It can be honest, respectful, unemotional, logical, and then say, you know what, I disagree with that, but maybe I understand your perspective, maybe I don't, but we can still be friends. We can concentrate on these other issues which we have common ground in. It shouldn't be the extremes that we've seen over the last decade plus and more in recent years where people are saying, okay, well, you voted for a Republican, you can no longer be a family member of mine. Mom and dad, now that you've done this, I'm going to shave my hair. We've seen some women say that Donald Trump is president, that's what they're going to do. We got to be able to build bridges. And honestly, Tommy, I don't see a lot of conservatives on the folks who are saying I can't be friends with people on the left. I don't see that a lot on the left, on our side of the aisle. But I do see it a tremendous ton on the left. So they need to be focusing on how can they build relationships with us instead of trying to divide and demean our people. Remember basket of deplorables. Remember so many other comments that have been made by Democrats over the years about conservatives, especially when Donald Trump hit the scene. We got to let that go to an end and just be Americans again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's going to be harder for some than for others. But when you talk to your friends like Stephen A. Smith and others that are especially rooted in maybe the Hollywood world or the public figures, they're in media and they are so fiercely on the left. You know, when you have those conversations off camera, just completely off the record, do they really believe that Donald Trump's going to destroy this country? Do they really believe that they're not going to have rights? And that, as Jennifer Lewis said, that now Donald Trump is going to give the military and police carte blanche to shoot people in the back? Do they really believe those things? Or do they just put that on for the camera, in your opinion?
Well, I know a lot of people, they definitely put on for the camera. They're doing monologues like Jennifer Lewis and many others. Many know that it isn't as extreme as they say it is, but that's what they have. And they've been paid to make these kind of comments. You think about people like Roland Martin. Roland Martin apparently got a lot of money from the Kamala Harris campaign, and he's been one of the main people who's been throwing these negative tantrums at Black conservatives. It's almost like that's his job, to target Black conservatives. He's been doing it for so long. So we know that he's a paid person for the left, not a journalist, not a media person. In fact, the one time he actually walked into some journalism is when he revealed he had the lady on from FEMA that got fired for avoiding the Trump houses. And she got on and said, oh, this happens all the time. This happens throughout the department. That was the first time he stepped into some journalism. Oops. You know, I'm sure he wasn't expecting to do that. But certainly there's people out here that say these very radical, insane things. And some believe it, but I believe most know that that's not true. We've seen that.
Yeah, you know, when Joe Biden was elected, I was concerned and I said, you know what I think Joe's going to do is he's going to run up inflation. He's going to keep up the COVID madness with the lockdowns, the shutdowns, the vax mandates, the masking, and he's going to let millions and millions of illegals invade our country with a plan to give them citizenship. And then they're going to be sucking off the government teat for many, many years to come. And guess what? That wasn't some radical notion. That's exactly what happened when Donald Trump was president. 4 years ago, things were not cataclysmic. It was not some apocalyptic horrorscape. It was great. And we're going to get back there, Gianno. So please tell your friends on the other side of the aisle, it's okay. They're going to enjoy it too. And I know we're going to enjoy it. Gianno, it's always great to talk to you. I hope to see you in person soon.
Great to be with you, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see you again.
Good to see you. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much, Gianno. And on that note, folks, get ready to be pissed off again. Did you know the city of New York pays $220 million to rent out the Roosevelt Hotel for illegals? But it gets better. Wait till you hear who owns the Roosevelt Hotel. It's time for Final Thoughts. Y'all know the taxpayers of this country have been taken to the cleaners, raked over the coals, and stabbed in the back when you hear things like this. As reported by journalist John Lefebvre, the city of New York, yes, that means the taxpayers of New York, are shelling out $220 million to lease the once prominent and sought-after Manhattan landmark, the Roosevelt Hotel, to house illegal immigrants, some of whom are gang members. But if that weren't bad enough, my friends, New York City is leasing that hotel from Pakistan to house illegals. Yeah, Pakistan. The Roosevelt is owned by the Pakistani government. The 19-story hotel with 1,200 rooms was closed in 2020, but reopened under this deal. $220 million for 3 years paid to Pakistan under a lease agreement formed as a part of a $1.1 billion IMF bailout for that country. I mean, the irony of this is so nauseating, it makes me sick, and I don't even live in New York. American taxpayers are footing the bill for people who have no right to be here, putting them up in a very nice hotel, a hotel many of them have turned into their own personal drug den and brothel, by the way. And that money we are affording to house these people is going to a foreign and sometimes hostile Middle Eastern country. Like, how does this crap even happen? But let's keep in mind Jose Ibarra, the illegal immigrant gang member convicted of brutally murdering Laken Riley. Well, he reportedly lived at that hotel before he got his humanitarian flight to Georgia and then killed Laken Riley. Gang members who front as asylum seekers are being housed and pampered at a taxpayer-funded hotel, and those funds are going to a foreign nation. It's just really unbelievable how Democrat politicians allow and welcome literally the world to walk all over American citizens. And then those same American citizens in places like New York City keep voting for them. Luckily, this crap has an expiration date of January 20th, 2025. Tom Homan ought to start his mass deportation operation at the Roosevelt Hotel and work his way out from there. This all ends very soon, my friends. And to the liberals who are crying over it, cry more. We do not care. Those are my final thoughts. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow live at 1 p.m. Eastern. Catch full episodes of this show on Fox Nation whenever you want. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.